Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. Hi, I'm your host, Tristan. I'm the host of YouTube channel Step Back, and Tristan won't shut up. Just gotta open my thingy here. Here we go. I stream 2 days a week. I do the Monday Discourse from 12 till 2 on Mondays, which I did yesterday with Mia Mulder. And tonight from 7 to 9, what you're watching right now is Step Back Tonight, which I do from 7 to 9. I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. I'm going to have to change that, stepbackhistory.com at some point. If you want to help with my work, you can go to stepbackhistory or patreon.com/stepbackhistory or give me a Prime subscription. If you have Amazon Prime, you can use one free Twitch Prime subscription every month to help an independent creator, pay their bills and keep everything going. And if you choose me, I'd be very grateful. So there you go. You hear a dog. I have the window open is why. There's a dog in the street. Yeah, as far as like stuff I'm working on, I kind of have two irons in the fire right now, so things are very busy here in Tristan Land. Doing my Tuesday night stream is like it's me doing second work, so Tuesday, very busy day for the old Tristan. But it's life. It is what it is. And if you want to submit questions for future streams, possibly this stream. I don't have a ton of questions tonight, but we'll see where it go. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Can you watch the VOD of the Mia Mulder stream somewhere? Yeah, if you go to my Twitch, if you go to my Twitch account, you should be able to find it. Under my videos. So, because yeah, for some reason, I don't know what happened with the YouTube yesterday, but YouTube just like cut out randomly. And we came back after just like a couple seconds, but for some reason it wasn't starting up on YouTube again. And then the recording that YouTube did have just randomly got deleted, and I don't exactly know why. So if you want to watch the whole thing, you can go to Twitch. And the other thing, too, is that if this is your first time here, please let yourself be known in the chat, because we have a very awesome and supportive community here that would love to have you around. It's good times. So, yeah, just say hello. And that should be all the things. Other than that, how's the internet doing tonight? Just a second. I have a cat trying to get into my office. Come on. Everyone's waiting. Alrighty, there we go. Alrighty. How is the chat doing? Let's see. Welcome to the Orking. First time catching Step Back tonight. Well, hello, creative name. Yeah, here's Phoebes. This is your first time here. This is Phoebe. This is Phoebe. She likes when I stream. Because whenever she hears my voice, she takes it as a invitation to come hang out. Is that cat fur on my microphone? Oh, most definitely. What do I think of Prince Philip coverage? I mean, it's awful. What's it called? Like, everybody's, like, what's it called? I have zero affection for the royal family. Prince Philip, coming from, like, a family of a bunch of Nazis who married his cousin, and for some reason I'm supposed to care about him. So, Here's the thing, though. Phoebe's trying to misbehave because she looks like she's being really cute right now, But what she's trying to do is she's trying to get this. She's trying to chew on the headphone cable. Is it bad that you feel slightly bad for the queen? I mean, first of all, like 95% of your questions are my emotions valid? Um, and the answer is you're entitled to feel however it is you wish to feel. Um, I don't, I mean, yeah, you can probably like empathize for them like a family because, somebody just died, but also, fuck the queen. She has a lot of power and I don't give a shit. Um, is the Marshall Plan a form of soft imperialism? I mean, yeah. I mean, it was a form of hard imperialism. It was literally, hey, we'll give you money that you need to rebuild your country, and if you don't get if you don't what's it called, accept this money, we're like not or like if you don't actively repress communist parties in your country, you're not going to get money. And we're going to use a good chunk of this money to give the CIA money so that they can give money to literal like former Nazis or former fascist party members in order to do anti-left-wing terrorism. It was like like to form like to pay for like Gladio and stuff. Like the Marshall Plan was straight up hard power. Like when you think about like soft imperialism, you think of like, cultural hegemony and things like that. But the Marshall Plan was just straight up like imperialism. Hey, you're getting your first shot. That's awesome, John. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Much appreciated. I'm happy to say that my parents got their vaccines yesterday. Canada's only vaccinated 1 in 5 people. So, the fact is like my parents are in a harder hit area of the province and they're old. They're in their 60s. So I'm glad that they got their, what's it called? Got their shots. But yeah, good. I'm glad you're getting your vaccine. I don't even know. You got your second COVID shot. That's awesome, Lauren. I am very jealous. If I see a vaccine in 2021, I will be legitimately surprised. Canada's doing so poorly. At this point, probably like it'll be about 2022 before we vaccinate the whole country. So at this rate, anyway. And I'm probably going to be like last on the list of people to get vaccinated. In Australia, the vaccine program has been a giant fuck up. I mean, okay, but also nobody in Australia has COVID anymore. You guys, you solved it. COVID is like over. You guys actually did the COVID zero plan and, you didn't go through an entire year of, everybody dying and everything being locked down, then opened, then re-locked down, then reopened, then re-locked down because we can't learn Australia and New Zealand's lesson about not fucking up COVID. So Australia is an island, so well, Vietnam's not an island, and Vietnam basically did the same thing to a lot of success. So, um, it's what's it called? It's a weak excuse to say that just because Australia is an island means that it handled COVID. Vietnam handled COVID, and it has a like population of like 90 million people. Canada fucking up COVID had nothing to do with immigrants or people coming across the border, and had every fucking thing to do with the fact that our provinces did the same like half-assed closing and half-assed and like way too premature reopening that all of the other Western countries did. That has resulted in us like basically handling it the worst of all of the countries of the world. So, Yeah, like what's it called? Now we're getting like 4,000 cases a day of COVID. So, you know, could have really used some of that Vietnam stuff, but then that would have involved the government doing something, mobilizing resources and giving people stuff, which the Canadian government's not in the habit of doing. And our vaccination program is a complete joke because neoliberals privatized all of our domestic vaccine production because they thought, well, there's never going to be a pandemic, so we don't need to run government vaccination production plants. So we'll just send it all away. We'll just privatize it, and then they'll all just move overseas. It'll be fine because there's never going to be a pandemic. Don't worry. And now here we are. And even after a whole year with the ability to build domestic vaccine production that we could transform into vaccines, Justin Trudeau decided that not pissing off international copyright people was more important. So we just didn't. And now we're just sitting around and playing with our pricks and waiting for, waiting for all of the other countries that, do have domestic vaccine production to ever so kindly send us whatever leftovers they have so that we can vaccinate our people so that they don't die. It's really great. We're doing great. Suppose instead of doing the Marshall Plan, and all this shit with the IMF and World Bank, the West just decided to not economically interfere with developing world politics at all after World War II. Would things be better or worse today? A lot better. If the U.S. didn't intervene in foreign politics, there'd be a lot more successful decolonization movements. There'd be a lot more communist countries, and there would be a lot of countries that just put in like democratic socialist projects or social. Like there is no single country on earth that is responsible for hurting democracy internationally more than the United States of America during the Cold War. So yeah. Why is Canada doing bad? Canada is doing bad because we made a really bad bet. Canada's doing bad because Canada did not want to have public infrastructure for vaccine production just in case of a pandemic. So in the 1980s, Prime Minister Brian Mulroney privatized all of our domestic vaccine production, and then because of NAFTA, all of the plants just moved to the United States or Mexico or wherever it is they went. Or they just shut them down. I can't remember. I don't know exactly the fate. But it means that we have no actual vaccine producing factories in Canada, and we always import our vaccines. Then Canada decided that Trudeau, when the pandemic came around, essentially came to the decision that we were going to invest in our own vaccine by taking like a company in China and say, all right, we're gonna give you money to help you develop a vaccine, and in response you have to give us like a guaranteed production of it. But then China just said, yeah, you're not getting that vaccine. Like pretty far into the process. I don't know what the cat's doing. Pretty far into the process, the Chinese government, which is kind of pissed off at Canada right now, said, yeah, you're not getting those vaccines. And so we didn't have any vaccines. And then we had to rely on our Plan C, I think, at that point, of getting our vaccines from Europe. Because also Trudeau didn't buy any from American factories because we didn't know. We thought that Donald Trump might win the election, and then he would not export He would put a blockade on the vaccines that we purchased. So we only bought them through Europe, but then Europe started having supply chain issues. And when they had supply chain issues, they said, well, we're going to make sure that whatever vaccines do come out are going to go to Europeans, and we're not going to export any, all of our delays are going to be fed upon or going to be felt by people who are abroad. And so that meant that Canada got multiple delays on our vaccines from Europe. We have no deals for any vaccines in the United States. And The Chinese vaccine that we were investing in was basically just shut down by the Chinese government. So we have nothing. We have dick all because Canada just could not bring itself to invest in building the infrastructure to build vaccines because this happening means it'll obviously never happen again. It's absolutely disastrous. All right, Phoebe's playing with something. She's having a lot of fun, obviously. Um, did you hear about the 100,000 Russian troops on the border with Ukraine? I know that there was stuff heating up in eastern Ukraine, but I don't know exactly what the story is. You should wish CEO of Regicide well. He had his appendix removed yesterday. Oh, dang. Um, Let's not forget the U.S. hurt democracy when they forsake the Haitian. Yeah. What are you playing with, Phoebes? Oh. Yeah, I guess you can play with that. Whatever. Oh, all right. Yeah, the other in Ontario we also got a bunch of extra cases because the education minister decided that it was really important for his political career or something like that to make sure that the school stayed open. So there was like this fight between the premier and the education minister, say like basically about whether or not to keep schools open. So like there'd be situations where like the entire province was on a state of emergency, stay-at-home order, complete lockdown, but kids were still being forced to go to school in person. And they just decided that they're shutting down the schools like yesterday, when we're at like the most amount of cases we've ever had in the entire pandemic per day. So, yeah. Because also, Canada has a whole bunch of conservative provincial governments right now, and they're all royally fucking up in the same way as that Boris Johnson and Donald Trump fucked it up. What do you think would have happened in Japan if the U.S. just hung all the war criminals and left? Do you think the country would have gone Soviet communist if the U.S. hadn't occupied them? It definitely would have been a reality. I think that the major factions in Japan after the war were a massive labor movement and a sort of conservative movement that was very aligned with the interests of the crown. Like very much like kind of like holdouts from the, wartime Japanese government. The U.S. Had to effectively destroy a whole lot of that conservative movement to sort of make a liberal capitalist class and take what few liberals there were and put them in power. Because like they had to basically they had to actively oppress the Shinto religion, and they had to like physically change Japanese society so that it was less likely to have the sort of reverence for the emperor that they thought led to World War II. So in many ways, like it probably would have been like kind of like Greece right after World War II, if anything. If the U.S. didn't get involved at all, I don't know who would have won that back and forth. And who knows? Maybe the Soviet Union would have gotten involved. I don't know. We need to convince Trudeau that making vaccines would violate indigenous sovereignty. Then he'd be on board. Shit. Little prep for teachers. Yeah, they announced yesterday, like right now they're on like March break, or they moved March break to April, and now they're on April break. And basically they announced that they're not coming back to in-person learning next week. They're going back to distance stuff. Talking from a student's perspective, it's worrying how much school reopenings are treated as a measure of success that's quickly pushed through for optics rather than developed towards well thought out concept first. It's not Canada fucking. It's not just Canada fucking up education right now. Yeah, yeah. And Ontario has had basically, like, the thing is, like, Ontario is doing really, 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 really well when there was like when there was no in-person school, like during summer vacation and during the like first initial lockdowns. And then you can actually like pin, so like when America was having its second wave, we were having like a really, really good period. There was a point near the end of August where Ontario, a province of 14 million people, was getting less than 100 cases a day. Then they decided that they needed to send the kids back to school in September. That the in-person school had to be open, no options, and that resulted in a second wave, huge second wave. We had it, and then the Premier of Ontario decided to not shut down. It got so bad, the entire fall was just like cases exploding out of control. And then the Premier decided to do another stay-at-home order and a lockdown, but not close schools. And it didn't start until Boxing Day, which for the Americans is the day after Christmas. So that meant that there would be the stay-at-home order wasn't going to happen until after Christmas. And then they had like, he decided to do this like kind of like region-based lockdowns. Like there's like tougher restrictions in like more heavily densely populated areas that have more cases, and in the more rural areas there'd be less. And what happened was, essentially, in the lead up to Christmas, in the like week leading up to Christmas, the people who lived in the gray zones, the very heavily populated like Toronto and stuff like that, went fucking Christmas shopping in the suburbs, bringing their COVID with them and spreading COVID to all of the suburbs and stuff like that. And so about 2 weeks after Christmas, cases just exploded out of control. And they started then going down a little bit. But then essentially the UK variant arrived. And now our cases are exploding out of control again because not only did the lockdown not happen until just a couple weeks, just like last week, but he decided to wait until after Easter. And so all of the experts are starting to think that we're probably not going to even come close to seeing the peak of this until 2 weeks after Easter, which is this weekend. So things are, it's going to be bad. How powerful are Canadian governors compared to U.S. governors? Our governors are called premiers, and they are much more powerful than Canadian or American governors. The federal government in Canada is much smaller, and its scope is much smaller. Canada was built as a confederacy, a mutual defense pact, basically, against the United States. And so every province more or less manages itself. For example, there's no federal healthcare system. There is every province has its own healthcare system. It has its own school boards. It has its own, provinces all run their own school boards. They have their own, pretty much all functions of the government are done by the provinces, save for, I think, highways, the police in some of the more rural provinces. Some out in the west, out in the prairies, they don't have their own police force. They have the RCMP. They manage the federal territories, which are in the Arctic, and that's about it. And the military, and foreign relations. Even foreign relations, they don't always do. Some provinces actually manage their own foreign relations, like Doug Ford going to visit Donald Trump, and the Premier of Quebec went to visit what's her name, Nicola Sturgeon, because of nationalism reasons. And the Premier of Alberta often does their own foreign policy when it comes to oil and stuff like that. So, yeah. There's very few things that the federal government actually plays a role in. Should do a Dead Country video about Rhodesia. Maybe. I kind of woke up with like this revelation about what because okay. When it comes to Step Back, I've been just banging my head against a wall trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with my channel. Because I think I might be the least successful YouTuber who is a full-time YouTuber. Like, out of all of my friends, I am probably the slowest growing YouTuber who gets the least amount of views per video of all my friends who are like full-time YouTubers. And I think it has to do with the fact that I ride this, like, I used to think that my like kind of hybrid identity of being an education channel mixed with like, you know, talking about relevant issues and current events and radical politics and stuff like that was an asset, but I think it's a detriment. And I started looking at like what other people are doing who are kind of in this space. And I started looking at like, I think that like, for example, like Abby Thorne, the Philosophy Tube, does a similar educational content, but she frames it as talking about something relevant in our world first and then brings the philosophy in. And I was making my videos very much about the historical topic first and then relating it to the bigger event sort of in the video. And I'm thinking that I was doing this precisely backwards and that I should be doing more videos kind of like my video on the gender binary, where it's like the gender binary is not normal and here's a bunch of history to show why. That speaks more to like the current political climate and stuff like that. And I think I should do more videos like that. And a lot of videos that I've done that have been successful have been because I framed it that way. Like my big video that led to me having a pretty decent like viewership growth in 2020 started with a video on neoliberalism in late 2019, which was, it was about neoliberalism, a topic that's very important. And so I think that might be the way that I switch things, and to stop marketing myself so heavily as a history channel and start marketing it as sort of like a video essay channel that uses the fact that, I have multiple advanced degrees in history to talk about issues of the day. And so that's sort of the angle I'm going to go down. It's not going to be all right away because I want to finish the White Power series, and I have some other videos I want to do. I'm probably going to like frame them in a certain way. I'm probably going to frame them in a different way than I did in the past. But this is a thing that I'm going to be doing, or I'm going to try anyway. But there's still a few videos where it's not going to be like that because I have, like, for example, this month, my 2 videos are on the Armenian genocide and the White Power movement. And I've got the Armenian genocide script is already done. I finished it today, or I finished the rough draft of it today. And I thought of this idea this morning, so I can't like go and make like serious changes to the script while I'm like already doing it. And I think the Armenian genocide script is the Armenian genocide video I think is gonna do decently anyway. So that, and then the Women of the White Power movement will be this month, and then I will probably start looking into how to reframe my videos after that point, because if I remember correctly, May I'm doing a video for Boxu. Doing a Boxu video, and I think I'm doing a video on the Tulsa riots, but I'm probably going to reframe that one. And, like stuff like that. So, hopefully this is making sense. If Matt Gaetz was a bigger fish, do you think the GOP establishment would be more willing to protect him? Yeah, probably. Like, what if he was just the governor of Iowa instead of a junior congressman? Yeah, I think he's definitely small on the rankings of the party. So your niece, yes, definitely not going to school is going to be hard. It's the problem. This is the thing, is like not going to school is bad. Kids are going to suffer for this. They're going to be developmentally delayed. One of my friends is a teacher, and they've already told me that like at this point, most teachers have kind of conceded that kids who went through this system are going to be about 2 years behind when it comes to, everything. And so, And so yeah, this is. I don't think it's going to. It's going to be bad, and it's going to like we're all going to have psychological trauma, and especially like young people. But also, people have been using that language as a way to make an excuse for doing the extremely unsafe thing of opening schools right now, and I can't let that argument slide. You know. How do you think Doug Ford will fare in 2022 provincial elections, given his handling of COVID? I think that the Conservatives are probably going to take temperature about how well the memory of COVID is going to loom over the election when we, depending upon when, like, I don't know. At this point, we might still have COVID restrictions by the time of the 2022 election because of how bad Doug Ford managed things. In which case, I do think that if it looks like it's going to really hurt, the Conservatives are probably going to pull a Hail Mary, and they'll probably get Doug Ford to resign and do a kind of like what they did in the 2018 election, actually, just kind of like do a quick switcheroo and throw in a new leader right before the election because the brand of the leader is just so tarnished. Then again, like, I don't know, the next election's going to be weird. You've only got, like, the Liberals have a new leader that nobody recognizes. Doug Ford is pretty hated right now. And so the only people that anyone knows is Andrea Horwath, who's been in Ontario politics for like a decade or more now, and she's the leader of the NDP. So this might be like the closest chance that Ontario has to actually electing an NDP government. Who knows? The other thing, too, is people might get cold feet and just, go back to safety voting for the Liberals. So we'll see. What's up? Phoebe. She wants attention so bad. She was just, she just knocked my headphones off of my desk. Because she's a brat. One time we went back for something like 2 to 4 weeks before shit was too fucked again, and everything had to close down. Yeah, here's the thing: is like in Ontario, we've been in this situation where everything had to close down, and everything was closed, but schools were still open, and so the pandemic just spread completely unchecked because, I guess this education minister Lecce, I don't know if he's just being thrown under the bus or if they're just scapegoating him or whatever, but he has just refused to acknowledge that, despite the fact that there was like daily stories of outbreaks happening at schools, refused to acknowledge that COVID was spreading through the schools and refused to go to online education for reasons that I think had to do with letting unions win. Canada has a different day for Easter? No. Won't this weekend be 2 weeks since it was Easter? Or is that next week? I don't know. Mutual Defense Pact against the U.S. Yeah. Canada was sort of made into a confederation because they knew we had to expand out west because even though after the War of 1812 we had agreed that the Americans would not expand over this line, we were pretty much guessing that they were going to anyway, and so we needed to build a Dominion country in order to colonize all of that land so that the Americans couldn't take it from us, basically. How many people instinctively factual cultural lines? Unfortunately, the conservatism Ford might win again. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if him being able to carry like a Etobicoke is gonna get him through another election. And also, a lot of the vote for Doug Ford in 2018 was because everybody was just fucking sick of the premier at the time, who had been premier for like 12 years at that point. So I think that if probably the first chance since I was a small child that the NDP might win next year. And if not, then I think that it's going to be because Del Duca or whatever, the new leader of the Liberal Party, is going to do something and just get everybody to start voting safe again, even though the fact is they're like a distant third place party now. I would love it if the Liberal Party was effectively dead in Ontario, but I don't think it is yet. What do you think is likely to be the most historically important event to happen in the news today? Whew. The Ukraine thing might be a thing. I do wonder what the situation might look like if Russia just straight up, like Russia annexed Crimea and got away with it. I do wonder if their ultimate plans are to eventually just annex Ukraine. And seeing that the world won't do anything about it, they'll just sort of be like, yeah, what are you going to do? But, yeah. Watch your vids for a while, but I'm looking at getting back to your stuff. Cool. Secular Talk talked about how YouTube was penalizing independent content creators too. Yeah. You should do 15 short clips a day with very clickbaity titles. Actually, don't do that. Oh boy. Oh man. I remembered you because back in secondary school, my friend made some history videos and you gave her a shout out, and that always seemed hella wholesome and nice to me. Who was that? Was that Jasmine you talking about? Are you a British person? Or is it somebody else? It's been tough going through in the last week. Been on social media. YouTube has done a subscriber purge. Oh, that would explain why my subscriber growth has been so slow in the last couple days. Abby does a really great job at the Socratic dialogue type thing. Yeah, I like the philosophy tube style that Abby has set up about talking about stuff that is very buzzy. You know, Jordan Peterson's latest book. Hot political topics, and then bringing academic philosophy in to break down and have a conversation about something. And I think that I could do that about history. I think that that could be a model for Step Back. And that's why I'm also trying to rebrand some stuff to get into just Step Back instead of Step Back History, which is actually just like a word that people kind of attached to my channel. It was originally just Step Back, and I'm trying to subtly change things. If you look at my channel right now, you'll notice that it's just called Step Back again. And I did that this morning. And I might try to, I'm not going to get stepback.com, but yeah, it's a thing I'm trying to work on. You have been going that way for a while talking about present day. Yeah, but the thing is, my videos are typically about history, but talking about present day. And I think I need to have it so that my videos are about about a topic in present day stuff, about a political issue, and then I just bring history in as an analysis. Sort of it wasn't a very successful video, but the video I did about COVID really early on in the pandemic about what to do when the state won't save you. And, about talking about how mutual aid networks and stuff like that were really what... I think that video was just a mess because it was very disorganized, and it was during a time when there was a lot of COVID content being made, but yeah. My vids need more skits. Oh, thank you. Yeah, every time I try to do something fun and creative, everybody hates it. Don't worry, there's still gonna be Bernard Cronshaw skits, don't worry. Do you think Derek Chauvin will be found not guilty? At this point, I don't think so. I mean, maybe just because of the perspective I've been seeing when following it, but it feels like the police have acknowledged that defending Derek Chauvin is just not going to be worth it. Especially after they got it into the record that George Floyd died of asphyxiation and not a fentanyl overdose, which is what they were trying to say he died of. And so, yeah, I think I think that the white supremacist institution known as the police are ready to throw him under the bus in order to preserve the institution. Because I have a feeling that if he's found innocent at this point, it's going to lead to a massive, massive, massive riot. And I think the police realize that to save their institution, to save their slave patrols, their white supremacist like KKK turned official organization, that they need to throw them under the bus. Do you think the NDP has a shot in the next election, or are we stuck with the Libs or Tories? In Ontario, I think they have a chance. I don't see there might be a federal election next year. I could see the NDP having a reasonably large growth in their voter turnout because the Conservatives have just really taken a hit, and there's a fair number of blue-orange districts for some reason. So I could see a lot of growth of the NDP. I don't think it's going to form government. They never have, and I think if anything, the next election might result in the Liberals forming a majority government. I don't know. Maybe not after the vaccine rollout issue. But if there's another election, like the thing is that if it looks bad for both the Liberals and the Conservatives, there's not going to be an election because you need one of those two parties to sign on to a vote of non-confidence in order for an election to happen. And they're not going to sign on to one unless they think that they can win or make gains. And so, with nobody really liking Aaron O'Toole and nobody really being happy with Justin Trudeau, it could be we won't have an election for a while until people have forgotten how bad they botched their pandemic response. So, who knows? Was that her screaming in anger? No, that's Romeo. Phoebe is like the quietest cat I've ever had. That she also never went to public school. Ha. Do I have any suggestions on how to defeat terrorism? Terrorism is a natural response to terrorism is essentially asymmetric warfare. So, stop invading and occupying countries and stop brutalizing populations and you won't have terrorists. Are you talking about Catholic Easter or Eastern Orthodox Easter? Catholic Easter, I think, or Christian, yeah. Non-Orthodox Easter. I don't think we have enough Orthodox Christians in Ontario for there to be a noticeable COVID bump based on Easter. And also, now, when we had regular Christian Easter, we were not under a lockdown stay-at-home order, but after, like, for Orthodox Easter, we are. So they will less likely get together, and there's way fewer of them. Do you think governments will take measures to help kids whose education was disrupted because of COVID, or do you think that's just going to be the case that if you were in high school in the early 2020s, you'll just be disadvantaged the rest of your life? Definitely the later. You expect in today's day and age for the government to do something about people who are disadvantaged? Do you know what world we live in? We live in a world where, like, we can't even agree that everybody deserves to, like, have the basics to live, let alone, like, helping people who've been disadvantaged by, like, the COVID lag in schools. There might be some in some, like, places, but by and large, no, they just fucked. This is capitalism, baby. There's no money to be made in helping people. I was just watching your Wicca video. That's awesome. Hope you liked it, Friar Badger. And the purpose of two rebellious armies in Ukraine. Yeah. It was Jasmine? Ah, yes. Jasmine's great. Um, she's, what's it called? I think she plans on becoming a history teacher. She'll be a very good history teacher. The U.S. announced today that they'll be pulling out of Afghanistan by September 11th, 2021. Do you think they will? I have a feeling that they're going to pull out of Afghanistan. They're going to pull out of Afghanistan asterisk. And that means that they're going to pull out, but they're still going to have a permanent military installation there. And that, like, they'll still have, like, it'll be like when, like, they constantly are always pulling out of countries when essentially they still maintain massive military bases and they still maintain, large garrisons and stuff like that. So while they might stop, like, active things, I don't think they're going to pack up their military bases and go home. They never do that. Expand their, like, global network. They just, and also, like, Afghanistan's pretty close to China, so it's a important foothold for their new, what's it called? I hate war on terror. What's it called? War on terror and I are no longer friends. My new best friend is Cold War II against China. I totally butchered that meme, but yeah, that's obviously the way that the U.S. is pivoting. They're pivoting towards, xenophobia and anti-Chinese stuff. So keeping a permanent military installation in Afghanistan will be definitely a big part of that. BuzzFeed released an article saying that American neo-Nazis are going to Ukraine for training and other stuff. Damn. I did not know that. Doesn't surprise me. It's sort of like, what's it called? It's like white, what's it called? It's like white ISIS, basically. It's vanilla ISIS. Unfortunately, that's been taken over to talk about, like, the alt-right and stuff like that, but to literally be a radicalized white supremacist, like a neo-Nazi, to go to Ukraine in order to fight in a, like, far-right, in order to fight for a far-right movement, that's literally vanilla ISIS. New tagline, all of this has happened before. That's not bad. So you're going to try and bring back the quick step style where you discuss the history behind current events. Hopefully I'm trying to, like, merge the ideas into something that is both of them together, but a lot less, like, a lot more like a video essay and less like a lot of quick steps where I was just kind of rambling. I like the skits. Thank you. I'm glad somebody likes the skits. You do good work in the content to solve as far as dialogue and research. People like Flash, though. Maybe get some set design stuff would help brand stuff and get attention. Maybe. I don't have that much money. I don't have, like, I can't do, Abigail Thorne's thing of having lots of, having research assistants and set designers and all that kind of stuff. I'm also not that good of an actor. Like, I'm not an actor. I'm a random grad student. Or at least I was a grad student. But then again, like, I don't know. Like, Big Joel can make videos in, like, an attic full of weird art, and Sarah Zed can make a YouTube video sitting on her bed. So I'm sure I can put something together. But we all know, like, back when I did Dinesh D'Souza Infinity War, that people fucking hated me trying to do something, like, with a story that is funny. There were people who complained that my videos were not boring enough. I literally, like, they're like, you're trying too hard to do things that are funny and fun and interesting. You need to just... The best YouTube videos are ones where people just stand up and look at the camera directly and talk and read an essay word for word with no affectation directly into the microphone with nothing else and just a static image on the screen. That's good content. That's what you should make, Tristan. And I'm like, who are you? How is it that the United States is both a giant imperialist hegemony and an anarcho-capitalist hellscape? Easy. The only thing that the U.S. government really does is they have their foreign occupation force, which is the U.S. military, and then they have their domestic occupation force, which is the police. And given that, like, almost half of the U.S. discretionary budget is in the military, and that oftentimes the police are like half, if not more than half, of municipal budgets, like, it's basically all America does. I liked your Ancient Aliens and Satanic Panic videos. Thank you. I love the Ancient Aliens video. The Satanic Panic video was good too. I can understand why people didn't like the Satanic Panic one as much, because it had a lot of stuff that, like, was kind of funny for D&D players, and it had a lot of, like, D&D specific rhetoric. And so I could imagine somebody who doesn't like D&D not liking that video. But I kind of don't care, because that video was done. That was my last video I filmed in the YouTube space, and I filmed it with all of my friends, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So I'm perfectly happy with it. Do you think the jury will split the baby and give him manslaughter? I don't know. I have no idea where it's going to go. I was thinking of a source suggestion. I don't know. I don't know what I can think of for sources to read. I did a course on the War on Terror, but it was like almost 10 years ago at this point, so it's probably like way out of. What about Coptic Easter? I don't even know when Coptic Easter is. Hey, thank you, J-Lord, for the Australian dollars. In Australia, we have one police shooting every few years, and that's it. And I have copes with my family who either laugh at the unprofessionalism or are disgusted by the racism of American cops. Oh no! Cops still suck, even if they don't kill people. They're still brutalizing fists of the state that have no legitimate purpose in society. And what purpose they do have is using a baton where a social worker should be. Oh no! How far do you think Biden's going to escalate against China and Russia? The German media is already spreading war propaganda. It seems that Biden is also going for more provocation. I think they're trying to do a Cold War. It seems like they're trying to... Obviously, they don't want to start a nuclear war or something like that. But they're going to, just like during the Cold War, base all of their foreign policy decisions about trying to maneuver against a manufactured idea that the Chinese are trying to expand their influence and destroy things. And it's like, it's not going to be real, but it's going to be a thing that they're going to try. Suppose DS9 was made a decade later. Do you think they wouldn't have been able to make Kira a sympathetic terrorist? Yeah, probably not. They would have definitely had some issues with that. Oh no. This is why we still got bases in Okinawa. I mean, the Okinawa U.S. military base is like one of the biggest ones. A lot of the ones they built after World War II are specifically Cold War regional command type stuff. Like the Okinawa base and the Germany base were basically their footholds in Europe and East Asia specifically. There's also a really big military base in South Korea for the same reason, because they're like major places where the U.S. military feels it needs to have a strategic like base of operations, because they don't want to be at the end of a really long logistics line in case of a war against, I don't know, whatever country has borders that come close to Germany and Japan. I can't think of a country that does that, but I don't know. The neo-Nazi group called the Base, which is named after Al-Qaeda, is trying to recruit in Australia. Wouldn't surprise me. There's fertile ground in Australia. The far right has quite a presence there. It's a very... We don't know this very much on this side of the Pacific, but Australia can be a very racist country. Just get them talking about them Libos. They have an entire island concentration camp for refugees. Like, yeah, it's brutal. I think John Oliver once, before he started last week tonight, he was on this podcast called The Bugle. And one of the things he said is like, I haven't seen a country as comfortable in its racism as when I went to Australia. Australians did not appreciate that. The best YouTuber is the robo voice that reads Wikipedia articles. Have you ever heard the urban legend of Scott Morrison pooping his pants at the Engadine McDonald's 1997 at the Grand Finals? No. I have not heard that. That's fun. Rashida Tlaib said that policing... See, the thing is, like, this is the... Thank you, Brandon, for saying this to me. I have repeatedly said that the secretly, like, most based member of the squad is Rashida Tlaib. Because she's like fucking Palestinian. She doesn't fuck with this shit. She does, like, what's it called? She's the one who said we're gonna impeach the motherfucker. Very much my favorite. I think I need to get a Rashida Tlaib t-shirt. I'm kind of like a little mad at AOC these days, so I think I need to get show some more support for Representative Tlaib. Isn't that person conflating neoliberalism and anarcho-capitalism? Yeah. Justice for Dante Wright. Yeah. I'm curious. I have this dark premonition in my head that they're going to try, because the thing is, if I remember correctly, the pig who murdered Dante Wright is a, like, white woman. I have a feeling they're going to do some sort of, like, woke propaganda or something. They're going to, like, be like, claiming that, like, what's it called? Claiming that you'd be a real fucking idiot to think that your pistol was your taser is actually sexist or something. And it's gonna be so gross. I'm gonna hate it. I hate, just like that freaking article yesterday about saying that it's like, it's kind of that it's sexist to be against sweatshop labor, and that it's like, it's sexist to be for pulling soldiers out of Afghanistan. And it's like, oh my God, I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate this new, like, let's, like, appropriate, let's appropriate liberatory language. Yeah, let's take feminist language, and just use the most shallow bullshit to use not feminist liberatory movements or feminist anything, just appropriating some of the buzzwords to justify, white supremacist, male supremacist, global, like, imperialism. And it's like, oh my God, I hate it so much. And then I feel like if they're going to spin it in any way, they're going to try to set it up so that they're going to say, like, it's basically going to be like trying to divide white women against black men, which is a very often, like, it's very common racial like wedge issue or wedge that's used in America, and I have a feeling that that's going to be the PR strategy that the fucking state's going to use in this case. So that's my dark premonition of what's going to happen in this current situation, and then we're all just going to ignore that a fucking pig just destroyed another just devastated another black family, and that I was listening to like the stuff about it and like how like his mother found out because she like called his cell phone and his girlfriend had to pick it up and say that he's been shot, and it's just like absolutely like, oh my god, like just like hearing her story, I'm just like, oh fuck, I hate this. You assume that somebody who doesn't play D&D watches this. Fair. I think that the Infinity War thing was just too disconnected from the actual topic and themes of the video, so it might have come across a bit too forced. That said, more skits like Ancient Aliens. Ancient Aliens was very fun. Yeah, the thing I was trying to do with Dinesh D'Souza Infinity War specifically was I think I was watching the movie once. I don't really remember. The Avengers, like, what's it called? Like Marvel movies, I like forget like 60% of the stuff that happens in any given one. But if I remember correctly, there was some line that Thanos said in the movie where he says like, now reality can be whatever I want. And to me, that like my brain heard that and went like, I was planning on making a video on Dinesh D'Souza, and my mind went to like, it's exactly the thing that Dinesh D'Souza does. He's trying to rewrite history to fit whatever his like, silly political positions want. And so I was trying to do like a thing about that, but obviously it got like lost in the translation or something. That phony accent made me smell good. Cop responsibilities. 1, beating people up. 2, stuffing them in the back of the car. 3, paperwork. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Half of what they do doesn't need to be done. The other half ought to be done by multiple separate professions. Yeah, that's about right. How do you do a Cold War with a country that manufactures all of your consumer goods? Good question. I'd like to find out. I would love to see the first time that the Chinese government like actually starts putting the squeeze on like, everybody's treats from Walmart and what happens then. Hey, thank you, by the way, Friar Badger, for the $5 super chat. Sorry I'm so behind. Character holding their heads in their hands saying, you're my number one. Aw. Thank you. You're so nice. Everyone's so nice today. I gotta keep my tab open with the thing so I can make sure I don't miss those super chats, because it's so nice when you guys do that, and I should be getting to them like right away instead of goofing off. Will you choose to become the first Galactic Emperor, or will you go the route of becoming the Endgame Crisis in Stellaris? I think I want to try the Become the Crisis when I do the Stellaris playthrough. I have a plan of playing the like Fanatic Purifier, but like the Hive Mind one. I basically want to make the Zerg. I'm gonna make the Zerg, and I'm gonna play the Fanatic Purifier Zerg, which I think is called like Devouring Swarm or something like that. And I'm going to like Tyrannid / Zerg my way across the galaxy, because I just feel like blowing up a bunch of shit in my first playthrough. UK will become similar to Australia on its current trajectory. That's not fair. the UK is not going to become similar to Australia's current trajectory because that implies that the United Kingdom is going to exist in like 10 years. Omar said some weird stuff about Turkey. What? Oh. Tlaib is awesome. I think she got arrested with striking airport workers at one point. That sounds about right. I'll never quite understand how John Oliver can call out all these systemic problems whilst also being married to a Republican. He is? Holy shit. She just quit the officer who killed Dante, right? Yeah. Doesn't mean that she can't be prosecuted for murdering somebody. What can be done to call American liberals on their interests and optics while not really caring if a Democrat still does war crimes? Hopefully to get them to be more aware that essentially you got to get them to stop thinking with New York Times brain. You have to really start showing them like the same shit's going down. And if there is any like note of optimism about our current moment, it's that like it seems people are paying a little bit more attention. Like when Obama got elected and kept doing the exact same shit that George Bush was doing, but just doing it with like, better branding, everybody went to sleep. While, and I kind of did too, because I went into the kind of the phase of my life where I didn't have enough time for activism. I started going to university and everything. So everyone started going to sleep. That doesn't seem to be happening as much with Biden. So let's hope we can keep that pressure up. 26-year police veteran's no excuse to make that fucking mistake. Justification for killing someone you shouldn't have tried to tase a taser in the first place. Yeah. Allah Akbar. Yeah. What's it called? Today is the first day of Ramadan, is it not? Ramadan Mubarak, my Muslim friends. Hope you have a wonderful month of reflection and religious contemplation, and that you make it through your fast without having any issues, and that however the pandemic is, wherever you are, that Eid is a pleasant experience for you. I know that Eid is very important to many Muslims, and so I hope that I hope you have a blessed month. I have my have my story about Ramadan. My Ramadan story that I always try to tell is that I was in this French program, this kind of French immersion program for a month when I was kind of in the summer between undergrad and grad school, and Ramadan just happened to be happening during that month. And so and it was like, I was like 23, 24 or whatever. I was like the general like cohort was mostly like 18, 19-year-olds. And so there were a lot of people there, and there were a lot of there was a fair amount of Muslim students in the program, and they were pretty, some of them were pretty, some of them, it was their first time having Ramadan away from their families and stuff like that. And so I decided to try and find like a sort of I made a Middle Eastern dessert. We baked a Middle Eastern dessert, kunafa, not with cheese, a sort of like dessert kunafa. And I had to go all over this small city in the middle of nowhere in Quebec to find the ingredients for kunafa, which included like some pretty tough ingredients to find if you don't have a car and you don't have easy access to specialty grocery stores, things like rose water and stuff like that. But I managed to find it all, and we made it for them. And after they finished their evening prayers, we had like a little party for them so that they felt more at home. It was very nice, and it was sort of like my, hopefully my beginning of my road to recovery for being, or road to trying to make this world better for people, make this world better for Muslims, because they've had a really rough go of it in the last 2 decades now. Please stop denigrating pigs by comparing them to cops. Fair. What do you see happening in the coming years to the U.S. left with Bernie likely not running again in 2024? We'll see. There might be. I could see a reasonable attempt. I hope for there to be a reasonable attempt to primary Biden if he runs again in 2024. If he doesn't run and Kamala Harris is just like the VP candidate, I really hope that there's going to be a left-wing primary. The only person I could think of that would be like high profile enough to do something like that would be AOC. Even if she does have like, she's a bit like, she's kind of playing some of the not so fun games of politics right now that's making her not so popular with the Twitter left. But she is probably the closest that, they have to a candidate who might be able to pull it off. And also they can't just use that, shit. They can't just appropriate feminist literature to talk about, or feminist language to say that, AOC is sitting misogynistically on a chair or something like that. They can't do that this time. Who knows what they'll use, but she would technically be old enough to run in 2024, I think. She was born in 1989. And she has to be 35. And so that means she's a year younger than I am. And I turned 30 in 2018. Which means I'll be turning 35 in 2023. So she'll turn 35 in 2024. So she'll be just old enough. So there's that. And if it's in 2020, I do think though that the left will probably have more luck running congressional candidates and stuff like that in 2024. There's sort of an uphill Senate race for the it's going to be the 2018 Senate race, or 2018 Senate is going to be coming up for re-election, and I don't know how it's going to stand up, but I feel like the Republicans are going to make some pretty serious gains the next election the second they've shaken off the kind of Trump stink. So there's some chances for the left to sort of get their fingers in there, but yeah, still. Yeah. Have you ever considered making a documentary series on the history and philosophy of anarchism? I don't know if I'm the person to make it, but I definitely might not. Or I definitely might do that, especially if I'm going to be thinking about, trying to change the way that I do things. Back in the day, my brother had a friend who was really into fantasy and had a life-size post Gandalf on his wall, which he destroyed when he found out Ian McKellen is gay. Well, in 2002, it was still normal for teenagers to be that homophobic. Yeah. Yep. Play the synthetics, but in EU4. Oh, dear. Voluntary hive minds wouldn't be that bad, actually. Who knows? Do you think England will still exist in 10 years? I think Northern independence is interesting, but still not taking it overly seriously. I mean, they've got about 2% of the vote after 5 months of organizing. And also, I think that you might underestimate that if next month, if Scotland has its election and Nicola Sturgeon gets reelected and the SNP pushes for another referendum, and if that referendum is successful, and these are not super unlikely things to happen, I could theoretically see a lot more of these independence movements getting a little bit more, fire under their asses because Scotland was able to successfully do it. So, if Scotland leaves, then I could also see, Wales has an independence movement that has kind of been picking up steam lately and could very easily pick itself up to become more of a... what's it called? Become more of a thing. And, yeah, I guess I just have a feeling that like the UK, once that crack in the armor goes, that things like the Northern Independence Party are not going to be such fringe things. And if you're talking about losing Gibraltar and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, Northumbria could easily be on that list. And then, England could be a very small country. During the lumps, I thought child prisons would get mildly better but still continue, but people would stop paying attention to it. I was wrong about the second part, but only because right wingers keep hypocritically drawing attention to it. Is that good or bad? That's just the nature of American politics. Everybody's a hypocrite. Are there any truly secular countries? It seems like religion is still super influential in pretty much every country in the world. There's a lot of European countries where religion doesn't play that much of a role anymore. Like Germany and Sweden, like I think, and Japan. Like I think Japan's like something like 80% atheist or something like that. Like religion does not play a very large role in that country anymore. So, what are my thoughts on the Derek Chauvin case? A fucking like jackbooted thug murdered a black man. I got it fucking caught on video, and to me it's shocking that he's even come this close to getting away with like literally murdering a person in a video. Like, I don't know, it's fucked up. I can't believe that this case is even close. Like, fuck that guy. My mic's having problems? Oh no. Sometimes it's surprising how many religious fundamentalists there are. Do you consider personality cults a modern day religious movement, or are they something else entirely? I think they tap into similar political or similar like social folkways and like sort of like the streams of how we group think, but I don't think that they're the same thing. They're more cousins than like, the same thing in a modern day. Can Trump do 8 more years or just 4? That's a good question. I have a feeling that hasn't been tested, but I imagine that's the thing is 2024 is also going to be, the big question mark of it is going to be if Trump runs again, which he might, or he might not. He'll be pretty old. Hello, my friend. How are you? Hello, Atomictron. Zoe Baker collaboration? Maybe. Cornwall independence? Let's do it. Hello, Lord Racer. London city state. Yeah, there was a time when they were thinking of making a London city state, weren't they? Which is funny because Thatcher and Thatcherism basically just completely ransacked the whole country just to serve the interests of London, and then have London just be like, fuck you guys, we're going. By the polling, Scotland would vote to leave. The thing stopping them is the British Parliament not giving the Scottish Parliament the okay to hold it. Or maybe it was Boris, no? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. There could be a unofficial referendum that doesn't get acknowledged. It's sort of similar to what happened in Catalonia. Do you think the north of England would be better if they/we, I'm still not sure, count became our own thing? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, going back to joining Europe would be a good thing. But I don't know. I don't know what the economy of Northumbria would be. I think I have a gag I'm gonna do for my next sponsorship with Bernard Cronshaw. So I have to do I'm doing a Bernard Cronshaw skit for NordVPN, and I have this idea that I'm gonna hold on. It's gonna be a good surprise, though. I came up with the idea in the shower today, and I'm very excited about it. Do you think city-states will make a major comeback in the future? Given that in our near term future we're becoming a much more urban species, it wouldn't surprise me. Germany's biggest party is pretty firmly conservative Christian, not necessarily non secular. They're not confession based, connected to the organized church, but still. Yeah. I've kind of thought of the idea, what if humans were eusocial? I wonder, what if we were in hives? We kind of are eusocial. If you think about how organized we are, like we don't like live in like our own territory and stuff like that. We have a very integrated society where we're very dependent on each other to survive. So if only we just had one giant human who had all the babies. County of Cornwall independent. Why give independence to a spaceship? Let's see. I guess I should have said London. I guess I should have said the city of London. Like the banks and corporations. Would the London city state be the actual city of London or Greater London? I don't know. There was a movement to do it a little while back, but I don't think it had that much gas. What are your opinions on the anti-protest bill in the UK and that the UK is becoming more authoritarian? I mean, the harder you grip, the more countries will slip through your fingers. I have a feeling that, like, if the UK keeps this march towards authoritarianism, Scotland wanting to get out is going to be is going to have more urgency. And I have a feeling that, like, England's not going to be able to hang on to all of its countries if it keeps this way. North of England was our industrial base until the 1980s. The party wants to bring that back in a more renewable form. Sounds good to me. Yeah, if like, Northumbria gets a Green New Deal, sounds pretty chill. I'd take it. Do you think the royal family will continue to exist as an institution after the Queen dies, or do you think they'll adapt and go on? I think there's going to be a lot of questions. I think when Queen E dies, there's going to be a lot of questions about whether to maintain the monarchy. Because I feel like the monarchy sort of survives on the fact that she's very popular. But when she dies, and we have to go and look at King Charles, or King William, or, yeah. I have a feeling that those people aren't going to be able to, Queen Elizabeth's longevity has almost given the monarchy in the UK the legitimacy that that it had during a lot of tests of its authority, and that if you have a person who's been king for like 10 seconds, I have a feeling that people are going to be less likely to want to stick to that. Yesterday I watched a history video that's about a typical urban ancient Egyptian house. Had about 25 square meters of floor space. Is that more or less than you would have guessed? Yeah, it's probably less than I would have guessed, but then I guess the other thing is that people back then spent a lot more time outside, so, and they didn't have like we have a lot of like individualist impositions on our design today, like that every person has to have their own bedroom and stuff like that make houses a lot bigger than they used to be. So I could see it. Has Wales ever wanted to become an independent country too? Oh yeah, there's been a Welsh independence movement for centuries, and they just there's a Welsh independence party that had some pretty record highs in the 2019 election, and they even have some seats in Parliament. So Welsh separatism has always been a thing, and it's becoming a bit more of a thing in like the last few years, especially because of Brexit. Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, and Darwin contain the majority of each of the population. Yeesh, that makes sense. I mean, Australia is like not the most habitable country in the world. It's mostly desert, so that kind of makes sense. Philip's death showed how deeply ingrained the monarchist ideology is here. Charles will sour their popularity, but I suspect the population will hold out for William, who's very popular. Maybe maybe in the UK. I have a feeling that like there are many countries that have a constitutional monarchy that might have the question. Like if when Queenie dies, I don't know if Canada will stick around with the monarchy. Maybe I think like it's like I think that it's if there was a time that Canada would abandon the monarchy, it will be when Queen Elizabeth dies. It does seem the NIP has no interest in rejoining the EU. Northumbria was an area of Brexit support. Oh boy. All right, we'll see where that goes. I lost my newly adopted cat. I put smelly wet cat food all over the house, but my mom threw out some because it smelled too bad. She gave up. I'm finding her after a couple hours, so now I'm just sad. Oh my goodness. That's terrible. I lost Romeo briefly during the winter and devastated me. I'm sorry. There are things out there if you want to keep the search up. Putting up signs. Eventually, like our cat, like when our cat went missing, he was found hiding under the car of our next door neighbor. Our next door neighbor just called us and told us about it. And we found him. So, put up some signs. Don't give up. There are some online sources. I don't know what they would have for where you are, but you can look up. Like there was like for us when we put Romeo up, there was this place that I found, or this website that had like a local Facebook group that looked for animals, and you could put up pictures and stuff and put in information and like have a vague location, and like they would send it out. Like dozens of people shared it, and so like all of a sudden like tons of people in London were getting notifications about our cat. So I think I saw there was like a 70%, 80% of missing pets find their way home. So keep looking. How do you think the UK could become less authoritarian? By getting the U out of K and just, becoming. I have a feeling that the UK is probably in for a lot of very major political shakeups over the next year as the full impact of Brexit and the full impact of the pandemic really, really seeps in. Um, and I could see like now that the UK has left organizations that it's been associated with since like the end of World War II, that it's going to have a lot of it's going to have a lot of trouble. I think you're gonna see some pretty weird stuff happening in the UK. Do I talk about history? I can. Do you think we'll see a rejuvenated Tibet independence movement in the near future, or will China just crack down as usual? Uh, Tibetan independence is like the kind of thing that I think the U.S. will start trying to gin up support for because they're trying to balkanize China. So Tibetan independence, they'll definitely be like, oh, the Dalai Lama. Like I could expect like a not too distant future where Joe Biden meets the Dalai Lama and talks about the importance of restoring Tibet and like that kind of stuff. How do I respond to the claim that the happiest, most equal, and socially just nations, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, are all constitutional monarchies? I don't think it's because they're monarchies. I have no evidence to support why they're monarchies. I think it's just because they're, European countries that all borrowed from each other the sort of same social democratic programs that were instituted after World War II. I don't think them having some like inbred Dalmatian of a human running or like sitting as the unofficial official person who runs the country is has done anything to make their country a better place. Found a lost dog recently. He saw me walking my dog, made friends. That's great. The UK national debt is massive. Inflation coming. The UK is in big trouble. I'm from here, by the way. I know that we're in a big bubble. It's very sad, really, watching it. Yeah, it's the UK is going to have some rocky waters in its near future. My problem with the Northern Independence Party is that they base their theoretical borders on Dark Age Northumbria, but the area of the country that is culturally northern extends like a 100-kilometer further south today. What should be done about that? Maybe people should vote county by county about whether or not they want to join Northumbria. That'd be my guess. Thinking about leaving the UK after my degree? Well, if you are, you could consider. I've heard about this. That after you're done your degree, you can actually get like 2-year work visas to go to for Commonwealth stuff. So if you want to go to Canada or Australia or New Zealand, you can go there for like 2 years on these visas. So you should check it out. Iceland has this high standard of living and it's a republic, plus Finland might be a republic. Who is the worst, least based leftist philosopher in your opinion? Just want to know who to avoid. Stirner? The individualist. I also don't like at this moment, like I'm not a super big fan of like Slavoj Žižek. I'm not a really big fan of like Angela Nagel. I don't really like Catherine Liu. Those are like kind of people who are today thinking about are like leftist writers that I would definitely not want to be involved with. But I think that don't do Stalin. Don't do I would be very critical of reading Mao, that kind of stuff. Even Lenin. Lenin like wrote a whole thing about how left-wing communism is like a childish fantasy. Um, okay. You like Zizek? I after he wrote that article talking about the leftist case for Eurocentrism, I don't know. His philosophy is kind of nonsensical, and a lot of his like he has a lot of affinity for like you know leftists who believe in strong like nationalism, like doing like the class collaborationist project that is socialism with borders. Lenin was talking about ultra leftists though, like anarchists, like like me. I don't know. I like Lenin. Lenin ordered the death of 1,000 anarchists for striking during a people's revolution. So, little sus. Plus, like whatever the fuck went down with like Nestor Makhno and the Makhnovites, and just like I don't know. It seems like Lenin just was really preoccupied with killing anarchists. He almost wanted to kill anarchists as much as he wanted to kill monarchists. I've asked this before. You think the UK will stop being a developed country at some point in the near future? I have these feelings that the rest of the West wouldn't let that happen because it'd be too embarrassing. I don't know about it being embarrassing, but London still is a major like center of commerce. Like London is still like a major banking hub of the world, and the London Stock Exchange is still like a big, node of global capitalism. But I don't really know like what, you know, where you'd go from there. Okay. Haven't read much theory. What sort of theorists are recommended? I mean, it can't hurt to start with with Peter Kropotkin and the and either Mutual Aid or The Conquest of Bread. Those are the two theory books that I like the most. Um, so the other one too is who I need to read a lot more of is Abdullah Öcalan, who sort of developed this thing of like democratic confederalism that's inspired by Murray Bookchin, who's another good person to read. So that would be a good like those are like some of my things to read. Lenin generally agitated against ultra-leftists as those who were focused on immediate revolutionary action when the time was not yet right, people who lacked experience and went into battle too fast. Okay. Didn't Lenin order the death of striking dock workers? What's up with that? Yeah. Anytime like people are really nice to Lenin, I'm just be like, man, be really nice if like these Leninist ideas about workers' rights and, you know, the workers' revolution was extended to the longshoremen of Kronstadt who did a strike in order to get better working conditions and to have more autonomy and democracy in their workplace, which was met by the Red Army killing 1,000 of them and basically putting down the strike with fucking artillery. So I don't know. Doesn't feel super socialist to me, but what do I know? I'm just a anarchity. Wait, what does the London Stock Exchange have to do with our status as a developed country? Well, if the British economy is dependent on like the London Stock Exchange is just where like a lot of like, you know, global capitalism happens. And so if like Britain like collapsed economically, a lot of, you know, globe spanning corporations would have a huge, you know, threat to their stakes, you know? So international investment in the United Kingdom would incentivize them to at least keep London developed. What socialist countries are likely to become communist countries in the next 50 years or 100 years? Well, at this point, there aren't that like the only one that I think might have a stab at it is Cuba, but even so, they're kind of moving more in the neoliberalism, kind of like capitalism light direction, so maybe not. Possibly like the Zapatistas, maybe the Rojavans, like, you know, some group like that, maybe. In Rojava, like, you know, with, you know, Rojava, they're almost living in a communist society or a vision of communism. You still planning on doing that cryptocurrencies video for Tristan Won't Shut Up? I might. That might be my next video. I kind of the video I was working on a Tristan Won't Shut Up video about sort of how fascists try to like third positionism and about fascists trying to invade the left. And sort of how that ties into like anti-woke leftists like Angela Nagel and sort of like the way that Glenn Greenwald's going and that kind of like that kind of thing. But I think given like that my new pivot with Step Back, that might be a good Step Back video where I can talk about third positionism and Strasserism and like those kinds of things. Like that's an example of a video that I was doing for Tristan Won't Shut Up that I think could actually be a Step Back video now. Cryptocurrencies maybe not so much. So cryptocurrencies might be. Well, actually, I could talk about, you know, speculative bubbles and the sort of inherent broken nature of capitalism with examples, with tulips and everything. And I can already see a skit where I make up tulip coin, and that would be fun. What's even happening in Rojava right now? As far as I know, the issue with Rojava is that there's essentially like they're kind of being slow motion having issues with the Turks. Turks are invading, but then Rojava made sort of like a desperate alliance with Assad to sort of defend themselves against Turkish invasion, and I don't know where things ended after that. Do you do COVID precautions in your dreams? I don't think so. I don't even remember my dreams very much. Oh, look, it's Kevin Logan. Hello. What are my thoughts on post-left anarchy? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I don't really know much about what is post-left like. Try to think of like post-left ideologies and stuff like the Venus Project and stuff like that. Try to say that they're sort of like a post-left-right ideology, and it's just like, no, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I'll be honest. Let's see what we got in the question pile. Do I think Rachel Notley will win an election in Alberta, or should I leave? I think it looks like Rachel Notley might win, but I don't know. How do I feel about post-centrism? Definitely get... Like, you mean like the Post? Like the centrism of the Post? The newspaper? Yeah, don't feel very good about it at all. Do you think that absolute monarchies will return? No, I don't think so. I don't think like monarchies were held up on like claiming that God willed them into existence, and now sort of just claim them by like, well, we can't give up on tradition now, can we? So in my mind, I don't think monarchies have much of like a way back. And there's a bunch of like weird people who on the internet who say that they're monarchists, but most of the time they're just fascists. They're just fascists who don't want to call themselves fascists. Socialism is when you have to install anti-suicide nets so your workers' sweatshops don't kill themselves. Yep, that definitely describes the very socialist private factory that made iPhones or whatever. If there's going to be things like monarchs, it's going to be like, everybody just being like peasants towards like really, really rich assholes. Like if we like if you live on like, Elon Musk's Mars penal colony or whatever. But I don't think it's going to be like the same kind of thing as it was in the past. You're seeing Greenwald rushing to Gates' defense, arguing for sex with kids. Might have to do with him having met his much younger hubby when his hubby was a teen. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the whole point about Maoism and what's it called, communism with Chinese characteristics or socialism with Chinese characteristics was, in order to get China to the point where it needs to be to become communist, they need to do things that are practical, which might not always follow with orthodox Marxist doctrine. But now it's just like, oh yeah, now we're just capitalists. It's like, okay. Are the Kims a monarchy? I mean, effectively they are. And I think that given their justifications, they do have a lot of like weird Juche mythology and stuff like that around them, which almost like, puts them in the sort of realm of actual monarchs. It was their messianic belief in the vanguard to implement socialism that led to the mortal atrocities. Yeah, that makes sense. Is Jeff Bezos still the richest man in the world? It's either him or Elon Musk now. I think the two of them were neck and neck at one point. If you become leader because of whose balls you came out of, it's a monarchy. Yeah. Was Glenn ever a leftist? He certainly had and still has the right take on things, but I feel like but it's mostly because of his accidental overlap between leftism and right wing libertarianism. Uh, I mean, he's definitely done a lot for the cause of anti-imperialism. Like, you can't take away the stuff he did with Edward Snowden and like, actual work he's done for exposing like right-wing corruption in Brazil and stuff. But yeah, his recent like thing after he's left The Intercept is the thing is he seems to buy into every single right-wing conspiracy theory. Like every single right-wing conspiracy theory. And then seems to have like a pathological refusal to ever admit that he was wrong about something, and so he just doubles and triples and quadruples down. And now it seems like now that he's like left The Intercept because he had a big flame out, he like was just caused big fucking drama and left The Intercept because they wouldn't print his conspiracy theory story. Now he's just a contrarian. Now he just says whatever. Now he just says whatever is going to get people mad at him, it seems. Should lay people try and look for scientific evidence to solve or just refer to whatever consensus of the experts? A while back, I got into an argument with a guy on Reddit because he wanted to show me evidence that monkeys couldn't have gone to South America by floating on rafts, and got annoyed with me when I said, I'm not qualified to evaluate the evidence. I'm just going to defer to what paleontologists say. I mean, that's just like, relying on experts to be experts. I mean, you can't be an expert on all topics. You can't really be a generalist. And so it makes sense to me that like, you have to rely on people who know what the fuck you're talking about. Thoughts on Crystal Ball /Rising? I don't know too much about it, but the fact that she's on this show with like this like white supremacist guy or this like alt-right dude doesn't seem to be, giving him any, extra points. He's supporting Matt Gaetz and arguing for lower age of consent laws. Jesus Christ. Well, it turns out Glenn Greenwald's a libertarian. Lenin's imperialism analysis doesn't really have anything to do with vanguardism. Also, I think it's highly debatable which actions of the Red Army were justified and which were not. The killing the anarchists part is the one that I think is the bad ones. Taking Nestor Makhno, who pushed the monarchists out of Ukraine, and then being like, well, you're not licking our nuts, so we're going to just start massacring you now because you won't follow our hyper-authoritarian centralized planned government. That feels like that was a bad part of the Leninist agenda. Also, taking the striking dock workers and fucking firing artillery shells at them also feels like it's counter to, leftist revolution. Just putting it out there. Maybe bombing people for protesting is not the most, or bombing people who are striking workers advocating for more democracy in the workplace is not the best leftist praxis. That might be one thing to look at. Apparently, David Graeber's final book is going to make the argument that rather than being totally equal, hunter-gatherers cycled through periods of equality and hierarchy. Depending on the situation, if that's the case, then even primitive humans will create hierarchies in some situations. Is that a problem for ideologies that call for the total abolition of hierarchies? No. I think most anarchists would make it's pretty logical to say that basically, if you think about fascism as like the ultimate act of hierarchy, right? Like ultimate domination over people, to the point where they're literally killing people and like subsuming their bodies to the interests of the state. Like that authoritarianism is something that you always have to be on the lookout for. It is a thing that our brains, our monkey brains, seem to be always susceptible to. We're always susceptible to fascists. We're always susceptible to authoritarians. And so we need to always be on guard against it. And that's why there's a really great. I'm an Anson. I don't know if I would call myself a syndicalist, but I definitely. But that's mostly because like I don't know what I'm signing on to with that. But like a lot of syndicalist tactics seem like they're pretty useful, so I wouldn't be against that. There's a really great episode of Behind the Bastards that talks about the sort of like the sort of things we need to do to constantly be on guard against authoritarianism. Yeah. And that's why, like, even in an anarchist society, there probably would have to be, like, some sort of self defense training because you always would have to be on guard so that any time. First of all, like, there's this whole thing about shaming the meat, which is that, like, the first time a male hunter brings back, like, a big game that they've killed, there's this, like, observed anthropological stuff of, like, they'll make a big deal to show how not important or how bad their kill was. And if they bring something back, they'll try to embarrass them and be like, that sucks. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is nothing. Because they know that, like, making sure that people's individual egos never get too big is like sort of like how they stand on guard against this kind of stuff. And an anarchist society is always going to have people who are around to make sure that no despot rises to power. What do you make of the idea that ancient humans cycled in and out of hierarchy depending on the time of the year? From what I can gather, I think that's going to be the thesis of the book. Well, we'll see. I have to read the book before I can say anything smart about it. Know precious little about figures like Lenin, Stalin, Mao. Where can I find accurate non-anti-communist sources on learning about them and other socialist projects? Honestly, because of its editorial stuff, you could do worse than looking at the Wikipedia pages, where you have people of all sorts of political backgrounds, like debating it, and they have like a lot of rules about like neutrality and stuff like that. So. Maoism, like the Wikipedia page for Maoism would be like a decent place to start learning about it. Anarchists will have to shame their meat. Yes. In many ways, I think that proper anarchist society is going to have to go out of its way to get rid of the main thing I think in our society that would have it is getting rid of the concept of like charismatic leaders. And getting rid of the idea of like even things like mass media like being attached to like specific individuals. Like we'd have to like actively be on guard against things like celebrity culture and like very rich as a person who's talking on a stream right now. But like and having like these kind of like personality driven political movements. I think those are things that we need to actively be dissuaded against because it creates authority, and authority is verboten. One of the most common sources I found on Wikipedia articles about communists is Radio Free Asia in Europe, though. Well, that's not great. But it's at least a start, and then you can find the books. Unfortunately, there's no one who has like written like because like the Cold War situation. There's no one who's written like a the 100% perfectly accurate, completely neutral approach to any individual communist. It's gonna have to be you're gonna have to read people who have a position and sort of read through that position and corroborate things and figure out. And of course, when it comes to a lot of them. You're just going to have to go to the source. You have to read what they wrote. Have you read the Jakarta Method? I have it on my list, I think, but I haven't read it. It's on my list of books to read someday. It's actually a big point of Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, because of those issues of authority you just made. Yeah, like I don't like if there is something in the left, like even as somebody who believes in a lot of Marxist analysis of things, I don't like the fact that we venerate these people. Especially like if there's anything to be said, like the fact that we venerate people like Mao, who went rogue and did an economic program that led to one of the largest ecological disasters in human history and killed tens of millions of people. Like, fuck, like, or Lenin, who was a leftist who ordered the mass murder of people for trying to democratize the workplace. Like, it's like you can't worship. Don't have heroes. Heroes are bad. Our monkey brains like to make heroes, but heroes turn into dictators faster than you think. Yeah, history is never really no neutrality. The first thing you learn when you go into history, like methods and stuff like that, is history. Like neutrality is essentially impossible. It's just like human beings. This is sort of the thing that modernists hate about postmodernists. Human beings, just by existing, filter the raw footage of the universe through their prisms, through their eyes, through their ears, but through various mental constructs that we've grown up in and around, some that we're not even aware of. And if we don't acknowledge that, then analyze it, we're going to make assumptions about the universe that are wrong. That's why the whole postmodernism movement exists. But and that's why historians are always about trying to realize nothing is neutral and trying to read through as much try to read into what the you can unfunhouse the mirror by knowing how the mirror is warped, I guess, is the thing. Mao, when talking about Stalin, said he did about 60% good for the socialist cause, then had huge amounts of criticism for policies and actions, and Mao even rejected himself as a personality. Yeah, but then also he broke with Khrushchev for not being Stalinist enough. So I don't know. It's a weird. It's a rough situation. I think the idea that you might operate in an equal band most of the time and set up hierarchies when you come together and you need to do something like a buffalo jump, have an abundance of food. My issue is I have a hard time imagining those people would give up power after. Yeah. The only thing I can think of that would work in those situations is that those kinds of authorities would be limited in their specific scope. Like you don't become dictator until the buffalo is gone. You are just the person who is in charge of making sure that buffalo dies. Like, that kind of a thing. Yeah. Anyways, we are coming near the end of this stream, so we're going to try to find someone to raid. Luckily, there's lots of people online. I'm going to raid my friend Luke, who is a media studies guy who studies, he's like a video game analyst. Like he does like intense media study stuff about video game stuff, and he's playing Never something. He's a real life friend of mine. He's an actual professor. So I feel like that he might be an interesting guy for you to talk to, or for you guys to check out. So let me try to get him. All right. Okay. Never alone. All right, everybody. Let's do this. Let's go say hello. Everybody, be good to yourselves. be good to each other. We'll get through all these things. And, I'll see you guys next week. Take care.